Welcome to another edition of Principally Speaking. We are on episode 4. We're keeping this up.
Yeah.
I'm your host. I am just one of your hosts, Josh Gillespie. With me
And
as
I'm Brittany
always.
Martinez. Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine.
We're working out the kinks still.
We
Like my
are.
background that I haven't I have to put a strap here, but I haven't done that. So that's why we're over here. Just
Yeah. Oh,
casual.
very nice. Very nice. Yeah, it's human interest. That's what they tune in for.
Yeah.
Just because it's August recess doesn't mean we can't have a jam-packed show. And we certainly do. This episode, we will continue to talk about elections. We have some interesting developments in Arizona that we will love to talk about, which Brittany has already been on TV talking about. And the interesting dichotomy we will also be discussing between Karoline Leavitt leaving the White House and AOC freezing her eggs. And then we will close today talking about Trump pocketing billions of dollars while American families continue to lose billions of dollars. So it is a packed show. But let's start off talking about Katie Hobbs, which is, outside of the interesting news that we get out of the Midwest with Michigan and Wisconsin, I think Arizona has kind of flown under the radar
Yeah.
recently. So Governor Katie Hobbs, who is a Democrat, has chosen former Republican mayor of Mesa, John Giles, to be her running mate. Now, Brittany, you have experience with former Mayor Giles.
Yeah.
He's been at Principals First previously, and you were on Fox 5 DC talking about this very thing. So let's kind of just dive into this a little bit deeper. What's your initial reaction to Katie Hobbs choosing John Giles?
I think it's so cool. I don't know when we've ever seen a bipartisan ticket, at least in recent political history. I think that's awesome. Why not? I think it's smart for her. Arizona is not blue by any means. And John Giles, former Republican mayor of Mesa, Arizona, why not? He's a normal guy. I don't know much about the governor, but I'd say, picking someone from the opposite party is abnormal in the political sense, but she must have normal enough views to be willing to work with someone across the aisle or maybe formerly across the aisle. I don't know if he said he's no longer a Republican, but a conservative.
He is a
I think he's now
conservative.
an
He is
independent,
left.
technically.
Yes, yes. I think he technically qualifies as an independent. It says that I thought this was interesting in the article in the AP about this. He said that he still considers himself to be a conservative, which we
Yeah.
just said, and he's stuck around the Republican Party probably longer than he should have
Yes.
in a crusade to save it. Frankly, when I read that, one, I resonated with
Hmm.
that. I have to imagine that there are
Yeah,
lots of people who would resonate with that comment right now.
definitely.
And what I thought was funny is that he closed it by saying, I realized that it was time to give up that crusade.
It's
You
never too
haven't.
late. It's never too late.
No,
Someone's got to
no.
keep the fight going.
Yes.
But I look, people who've come to that conclusion in their lives, I don't blame them. It's I think, natural conclusion for a lot of folks to come to after you've been fighting it for so long. So I don't blame him, but I'm still calling him the Republican mayor, the former Republican mayor, which he
Sure.
was. But why not? Why not try something different? Clearly, what we have going on in this country with the very intense polarization in politics, it's not getting us anywhere. All it's getting us is more and more extreme and further away from each other, from collaboration. Bipartisan is a bad word. Centrist, moderate, those are all bad words, even though, and I'm sure we've touched on it, the majority of Americans live closer to the middle and not in the extremes, even though the media would have you believe otherwise. But why not? Why not try this and see what happens? Not to mention, they're running against Andy Biggs, who folks might recall was one of the 8 people who voted to oust my former boss, Speaker McCarthy. So anyone besides those hateful 8, as they've been lovingly and affectionately dubbed, not by me, by others, and I'm just like riding with it. Yeah, I don't want that guy.
Yeah.
I'm not an Arizonan, so I guess what I have to say doesn't matter, but anyone but those guys.
No, and we will be having a dinner in Arizona. I guess we can we announce that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be having a dinner in Arizona, I believe on it was October 20th
Yes.
in Phoenix. and we are still putting that program together. But how cool would it be to be able to have representation from that ticket be a
Yeah.
part of, or at least show up for that particular
Yeah.
event? Now, here's what I have to kind of touch on here. Does this feel like a gimmick at all? Like, I mean, when you see politicians make a move, no one has done anything like Hobbs has, at least recently. I think the biggest gimmick that kind of comes to mind is when McCain picked Palin. That felt a bit gimmicky. Does this feel gimmicky at all, or do you think that Hobbs is really trying to bridge that divide as a governor of a swing state? It went for Trump in 2024, but it's elected. What Hobbs is running for re-election, so she's going for a second term. It has our good friend Adrian Fontes as their Secretary of State, who's also a Democrat, but they've been elected to a state that most recently went to Trump. But Hobbs beat Carrie Lake, who she may come up again in this conversation.
Isn't she like Voice of America or what? Wouldn't they make it for
Oh,
some honorific thing?
she definitely got something honorific. No, she is. It's honorific for sure. She's an ambassador to Jamaica.
Cool. Makes sense. Yeah. Why not? Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Why
Good on
not?
her.
Yeah. Whatever.
She actually, she was one of the ambassador votes that I think what Cornyn was holding up.
Mm.
Yeah. So, but yeah, does it feel a little bit gimmicky at all?
I don't mean to be naive, and I also don't want to be cynical. Whether it's gimmicky or not, quite frankly, I don't really care. I think that we need to see more collaboration and a willingness to work with each other, and I don't think we see that a lot. So if being gimmicky changes the political discourse and public discourse and makes people rethink maybe this is an option moving forward. Now, again, like I'm very not naive in that I don't think every person in every state is going to do this moving forward.
Mhm.
But could people potentially do this here and there? Maybe that encourages someone to do that. And so I think it's cool. Do you think it's a gimmick?
Well, I don't know what Hobbs's popularity rate is in Arizona, but from what I've read, she's one of the weaker incumbents.
Mm,
Um, so I wouldn't necessarily call it a gimmick. What I think it is honestly something that she is trying to do to bridge the divide because she
yeah,
announced on Twitter that she was launching the Arizona Over Party
right.
Coalition alongside Republican and independent leaders, community members, and business professionals. And then she closed her tweet with Arizona's future is bigger than partisan politics.
Hmm.
The real question when I see something like that
Yeah,
is, does that continue after the election?
right.
Both whether
Yeah,
she's elected or if she loses.
right.
But chances are it's still going to be a very tight race. I think that what the addition to Giles does for centrist Republicans, moderate Republicans, is that
Hmm.
it allows them to vote for Hobbs
Yeah,
because Giles is on the ticket, and I think that's what she's going for. She's going for that
yeah,
middle vote, and we'll talk about the Democrat normies later. But I think this is the GOP normies that she's reaching
yeah.
for. Honestly, it reminds me of. And I'm going to go back to so I do this occasional video series, which I need to get back to doing, but called The Vanguard of Principle, where I interview volunteers and people who are involved with Principles First. And the last one that I did, which was in June, sadly, was with a wonderful woman out of Arizona who was very much involved in Republican politics.
Yeah.
And she's since left the party. What I remember about that conversation is that she was so ingrained in Republican politics that when she left the Republican Party, she actually visited the gravesite of her parents
Mm,
to tell them
yeah.
because they had been so active in Republican politics. I mean, that's the interesting thing I think that you see in politics and in families these days is that, people are so ingrained in what they're doing that when they break away, they have to have these big conversations, even if they're with dearly departeds. So I think that This woman was probably likely to vote for Katie Hobbs anyway, just because she's now a registered Democrat. But I think she feels more comfortable voting for Hobbs because there's a Republican mayor who's on the ticket, or a former Republican mayor. And this Republican mayor has an interesting past and slightly controversial because, as at least with Republicans, as mayor, Giles signed a proclamation promoting equal treatment for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender residents in housing and accommodations, a controversial move in a conservative city. And this is something that Biggs has already started hitting on, is that Giles was also at the DNC
Mm-hmm.
in 2024 promoting Kamala Harris. So we'll see exactly what his addition to the ticket will be. He may be seen more aligned in the state as a Democrat than as a Republican, but they are certainly running nationally with the news that it's with a former Republican.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens in this race, and something that we at Principles First will definitely be keeping our eyes on for sure. But speaking of elections, let's talk a little bit about what happened in Wisconsin. I don't know if you read the playbook at all today.
I did not know.
I highly recommend the Politico playbook. To anybody listening to this or watching this, I highly recommend the Politico playbook. And they had a whole section today on, they called it Revenge of the Silent Normie Majority. That is a misleading headline, as it is basically revenge of the silent normie Democrats. I wouldn't go so far as to say majority. This is their breakdown of the Wisconsin race, and in which DSA candidate Francesca Hong, who had been leading in many polls, lost. She lost the race for governor in the Democrat primary. What I think is interesting about this is that, and they're trying to parlay this as if this is some Midwest thing. I think David Weigel has a piece in Semaphore and trying to show that this is more kind of like a Midwest thing. But Abdul El Sayed's victory in Michigan leads me to believe that this is more of a Wisconsin thing than a Midwest thing specifically, unless they just consider Michigan a Great Lakes state and not Wisconsin, even though it touches a Great Lake. What I thought was interesting about this is that they have a whole long section, whole long conversation, I should say, in the playbook with Rahm Emanuel, former DCCC chair, and former chief of staff to President Obama. And also, he's definitely throwing himself out there as a potential 2028 contender, which, I'm sorry, Rahm, no, it's not happening. I mean, way to angle for a cabinet position. That's kind of what I see this as. Where he's going is that they're focusing on mainline Democrats, or normies, as they want to call them, that voted. They said that normies that voted in generals, but not primaries, are voting in droves in primaries. They're kind of blaming Hong's comments, woke one. Apparently now it's getting relabeled. It's woke one, which makes me wonder what woke two is. But I think that was actually from AOC's comment. Woke, as she said, woke one was crazy. And I'm like, yeah, but what's woke two? Can someone explain that one to me? Am I
what's the difference between woke and woke one?
Yeah. Am I too old to understand this? Is that me? Am I not young enough to understand this? She's 36. So clearly there's something generationally that I feel like I'm missing. Yeah, they're saying that Hong's overreach of her wokeness, which she backtracked hardcore, led to the loss, but also brought the normies out.
Yeah.
I want to believe that's the case. I really do. Not that wasn't the case in Michigan. That was a very close race. Haley Stevens just barely lost that one. And the Midwest is not, as I've said before, is not like Vermont or New York City, which have elected, well, Sanders is an independent, but he's a socialist. And Zoran Mamdani, who is a DSA. Do you think that we're seeing a return of the centrist Democrat in a way that we are not seeing on the GOP side of things?
I would like to hope that people aren't moving further to the left and further to the right. And so for that, I hope so. But in Michigan and Wisconsin, I think that the polling was so off the polling was so off, and B, some of that is the reason why Hong lost, because maybe people were so concerned and the normies came out, to your point. But one, I think we need to revisit the profession of polling, because I don't know what was going on in either of those states, but they were very, very off. As far as in Michigan, I think it was supposed to be a much further blowout, and it was like a point difference. And Hong was expected to win Tuesday, 2 days ago, and didn't. So I just keep coming back to the same thought, which is I think it's just new leadership. I may have said this last week, but primaries are about passion. General elections are about persuasion. And those who are like really excited to be DSA, they're the ones who are going to come out. Or those who are like really nervous about DSA and they want the normie, they're going to be the ones to come out. And not to mention, I don't know that voters necessarily generally are forward thinking in the same way that a political operative is strategically thinking who's going to have a better result in the general. I don't think the typical voter is necessarily thinking about those things. Maybe they are. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But I think they're just worried about like who they care for and supporting them. I don't know. I don't see this wave of DSA. And as far as Republicans versus Dems being normie or not, I think that Dems had their time of defund the police. And during COVID, I remember that congressional Democrat caucus calls being leaked about, the members being like, never, ever say defund the police, because now I'm getting attached to this. And I've never said that, have never thought that. And you're making my reelection harder for no reason. So I think that definitely Democrats who are in the know, who've been around, the institutionalists of the Democrats, I think that they're wanting to stay further away from the wokeness. And, you have the maybe younger people or, the Bernie Sanders too, who are just very passionate about their belief system, who are going to continue to do what they want, whether that's woke 1, 2, or 3. And I also think greater terms, 2028. And I wonder what the D-Trip, the DNC, RNC, and RCC, and, NRSC, DNSC. I think I probably got that acronym wrong. But what they're thinking about as far as 2028 candidates and viability and what is interesting and what is not, because for the first time in a decade, Republicans are having to think about and reconcile with the fact that Trump won't actually be on the ballot. And so what does that look like for the party? And we've talked about this, and, MAGA isn't going to exist in the same iteration once Trump is gone, because he doesn't want it to exist without him being able to be an office holder. And he set it up that way. And I think Democrats, you have folks like the Mark Kellys of the world, who I think are very common sense and have backgrounds like a freaking former astronaut, right? Like very, very cool. And I don't know what word I would say. It's just serious people who are running. And I think they're very much thinking about what does the future of the party look like. And the Republicans are obviously going to say, oh, they all want to be socialists and DSA and they're communists and stuff like that. On the flip side, Democrats are going to call Republicans MAGA and Maha and extremists. I think of Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries' Twitter, where he's always talking about the extremist MAGA, and that's it. Like, that's all. They need to like rework their Twitter. I've always thought it was pretty bad, but they're also leaning on those sorts of terms. And so, anyway, I don't know. I just hope more normal people start running, and I think we need to do a better job vetting candidates. And I think if you're listening to this and you've ever considered running or not, you're unsure because you think it's a slog, which it is, and you think that it's like terrible people running for office, which is also true. We need better people running for office, so why not you? That's what I always think.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
You hit on something that I think is interesting, or at least that I want to touch back on, is the extremism of each party and how they're kind of, in a sense, showing themselves and how the parties are dealing with that. Clearly, it seems as if the Democrats right now are having. It's said that there's a civil war. The playbook said that the civil war had hit its inflection point with the election with the defeat of Hong, and they went on to say that it has ground to a stalemate. If that is the case, and we see kind of centrist Dems elected in between now and heading into 2028. I feel like it's one thing for the Democrats to be calling Republicans MAGA and extremist and Maha and all that stuff. At this point, it's currently true. Even though they mean it as a derision, it is currently true. Whereas you have Republicans who are demonizing all Democrats as communists and socialists simply because of a few DSA victories and major candidates getting very far, but they're not. And you have people like you mentioned, like Mark Kelly, even Pete Buttigieg, who was probably considered very progressive simply because he's gay. He's probably one of the most centrist-minded Democrats out there. And even AOC to a certain degree, and maybe this is just because she has 2028 on the mind, starting to de-radicalize herself. So I feel like the accusations made towards Democrats isn't exactly true. And it kind of reminds me of when Democrats back in the Tea Party, when they wanted to label everyone, because of the Tea Party's victory in 2010, wanted to label the entire party, Republican Party, as Tea Party and anti-healthcare and anti-this, anti-that. When I remember the member of Congress that I worked for, he definitely sided with the Tea Party movement, although I would not call him a Tea Party member, but he definitely sided with the movement. But he was also working towards a healthcare alternative to what the Obama administration was putting forward. I don't know. I feel like the pendulum is swinging in many ways here.
Yeah. And I think that as more Americans move to being independent voters, I think the party that's going to do the best is the one that is willing to meet them where they are, which is more towards the middle, even though, again, bad word in politics. And
exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there is no DSA wave happening. I think it's the outliers. I think that will always happen in any case. There will always be outliers. And after midterms, maybe I'll be eating my words and say, no, there was the DSA wave. It just hadn't fully hit yet, and we'll be able to see it actualized.
Sure.
But today, I'm not willing to say that. And if people are, they're being disingenuous. It's fear mongering, and it's wanting to scare people, which I guess is what fear mongering is. But I would say that it would be disingenuous.
Precisely.
And that's not to say that you can't put those warning signals out there and be like, Republicans, you need to keep an eye on the prize, and we don't want this for the future of our country, and vice versa. Democrats, we don't want this for the future of our country. So I'm not saying that you can't present tangible evidence that this is a bad way to go. Therefore, we need to be careful. We need to show up and vote. That's how campaigns and politics works. But I feel like both sides are very fear-mongery, and I don't really like that.
No, I'm with you. I do want to ask you, do you see, as you mentioned earlier, with Trump not being on the ticket in 2028, that is if he doesn't play funny games and try to be a VP, but I've heard stranger things. But do you see the rise of the GOP normie coming back at all, going into 2028, knowing that Trump isn't there to protect a lot of the people who have been with him this whole time?
I think he'll be there. I think he'll just be unwilling to protect anyone ever besides.
Well, he's not even doing that during this cycle.
Exactly. Like he has the opportunity to, but he's like, no, it's fine. I think that the rise of the normie Republican has to come at some point. And people say it's never, ever going to happen. No, again, you said this earlier. We say this all the time. Pendulum will always swing. So am I convinced that 2028 is going to be the normie Republican again? Not today. I'm not willing to put money on that. But will it at some point? Yes, because if Democrats move more towards the middle, and that's where Americans are, and Republicans continue to move more towards the right, where Americans aren't, eventually something's going to have to give. So I think that 26 is obviously going to be telling, and we'll continue having way more discussions on this in the next couple of months. But I just, and unlike Giles, I'm not ready to give up on Republicans. It's like your family when you're in disagreement, but you're like, I love my family. I'm not willing to give up on you because I care about you. I think we don't need to be party loyalists to the point of being unwilling to call out bad things. But I'm still in there fighting today. And
Yeah.
always, and always.
Basically, what you're saying here is I love my party, but it's disappointed me a lot.
Yeah.
I can't say that anymore, but I'm done with that. Anyway, but I will say this. I root for and hope for the return of the normie GOPer, simply because we need that.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're stuck with a two-party system, which we are,
Hmm.
we need the return of the normie GOPer, just as we need the return of the normie Democrat, so
Yeah.
that we can, as as we've said on staff calls before, return to normalcy to a
Sure.
certain degree. But we need to, and not that we're looking backwards to look ahead, but we need to be looking differently to look ahead.
And you know what? I'll say, because I understand that many people are frustrated and
Hmm.
have hair on fire. And I feel like that's no way to live, because one day the hair will really be on fire, but no one will believe you because you've been crying wolf about the hair on fire all the time. Um, I feel like I see signals of that. And anytime I see signals, I'm just like hopeful. It's if anyone manifests or synchronicity in the angel numbers, and this is leading me on the right path, or it's the sign from God, the universe, whatever, that I'm on the right path. I take the last 9 days and the fact that three Republican endorsed candidates lost, and then a fourth, being Graham, was unable to clinch her candidacy for the general election. So she has to go into a runoff.
Hmm.
Granted, she's only been in the race for like 23 days, but so has everybody else. And she has the name ID, and she is the late senator's sister. And she secured the Trump endorsement. So signals like that to me say that people are paying attention. They don't like the fact that the president is not prioritizing the right things. Instead, he's focusing on the reflecting pool, on the ballroom. How many buildings can I put my name on? How many things can I paint gold and make super tacky? And they're saying, yeah, but I'm hurting at home. The price of gas is going up. My groceries are going up, and saying, why would I listen to you when you've made it clear that you don't really care that much about me?
Did you see his interview at all with Punchbowl News?
Oh, I caught some of it, but no, I don't think I caught all of it.
Well, did you catch the part where the interviewer was asking the president, who are people upset with?
Yes, yeah, 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 yeah. Last week he's like, Republicans, not me though. I'm like, you are
Yeah,
the Republican.
yeah, you are the head of the party. You
Yeah.
are, you
I'm like, you're not
are.
actually a Republican. You're not, but you
Yeah,
are technically the head of the party. Yeah. It's just
he's so
so
out of
out of
touch.
touch. Jinx.
Yes,
You owe me an Alani.
there you go. I'll pay you.
Sponsor
I'll
us.
pay
No,
you
I'm
an
kidding.
Alani. Well, let's move on to issue two and talk about the two women that we talked about at the top of the show who have made news this week, but for very different reasons, but very similar reasons in many regards. And that is,
Yeah.
first of all, Karoline Leavitt, the press secretary at the White House, has left or is leaving at the end of the month. I want to get a couple of hot takes from you real quick
Yeah. Yeah.
before we move on to AOC and the comparison.
Yeah.
But as a comms person,
Hmm.
how do you rate her tenure at the White House? Now, take into consideration who she's serving,
Yeah.
but also knowing what all secretaries have to do when they
Yeah.
represent the president of the United States.
I would give her credit for being sharp. I think she is a very sharp person. I think she is quick on her feet. I also think that she has been very dishonest, and I think she has a temper. And when you're in that position, I'm not saying there's never been a press secretary with a temper before, but it's the constant berating of the press. And I think that is incredibly unprofessional. And MAGA would probably say, well, it's because they're mean and bad to the president. And well, of course they're gonna act out or call them out. No, it's BS. It's BS. I mean, we've never seen a press secretary quite like this, and I'm not down for that. I'm not down for that. I am down for calling people out and being tough when you need to be, but that's not even her default. Her default is just being rude, and that should
Mhm.
not be your default. You are presenting information to the American people. Press corps is there to hold you accountable, and you need to do your job in a more becoming way. That's what I would say.
Interesting commentary. I mean, how would you rate her compared to the previous press secretaries that President Trump has had, which They listed the
Yeah.
four press secretaries
Uh,
that
yeah.
Trump had in his first term: Sean Spicer, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, now Governor Huckabee Sanders,
Yeah.
Stephanie Grisham, and Kayleigh McEnany.
So Spicer, poor guy, didn't know what he was in for. I feel like
No, he didn't.
spicy. Spicer, I think Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Now it's been years since I've like watched one of her pressers, but I
Sure.
think that she was strong at the time. And you also have to keep in mind um, not. I've always felt the way that I feel about the administration and the first one as well, and
Sure.
the
Yeah.
candidate coming down the golden escalators. I've always felt that way, but I was more willing to be a team player back then because I thought and hoped that got my guidance or recommendation or, behind the scenes and how people were actually feeling would have more sway, I guess, than it did. So Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I thought that she was very strong back then.
Hmm.
Kayleigh McEnany, I worked with her when I was at the RNC, and she is one of the nicest people I've ever worked with. And politics is brutal and disgusting, and the majority of people I've worked with are scumbags. And she was incredibly kind. I thought she was really articulate, and I thought in difference in comparison to Karoline Leavitt, I don't really remember, outbursts and that kind of thing. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
wrong, but I think she handled it incredibly well. And for Grisham, I think the joke is I'll take your questions now, or the name of her book, and she actually never had a press conference, if I'm recalling correctly.
Mm.
But man, what a tough place to be.
Yeah.
And I am curious. I don't know if there's been speculation. I haven't been following it too closely about who may be her successor, but
Oh,
I
they
think
got
that's going to be.
names.
Oh, I'm really interested if they go with another woman. If they go with someone kind of like Trump, like a Trump-esque woman, the shift dress, the blonde hair, kind of what you like, the Christy Nome look. Like, if you're
Yeah.
gonna go with that, if you're gonna go with the guy, I think that's gonna be really interesting.
Do you want to hear the names that are being
I do
floated
want to hear
here?
the names. Yeah.
Okay. Again, this is from the playbook. Alina Habba.
I feel like she's been jockeying for that role on the DL, honestly, like since the very beginning, and would have gladly taken that role on early on,
Mm,
like the
yeah,
first one.
probably. Matthew
Yeah.
Boyle,
Okay.
Taylor Budowich,
Okay.
Stephen Chung.
Imagine he called me a dummy on social media
Oh, he did.
or a
Oh,
dum dum or something. I'm like, whatever.
lame.
Yeah.
Katie Miller. Uh,
Imagine. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wait, hold on. Wait, this is going to be rude. So I need to recalibrate the way I'm going to say this. Her and I are the same age.
mhm.
I don't think we look the same age. Every millennial thinks they look younger than they are. So listen, I'll take the crap on that
All right.
one.
All
But
right.
we are the same age, like within I think a few weeks or a few months, like very close. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anna Kelly,
Yes.
Monica Crowley. So going back into the Fox universe, Jason Miller. Wait, I can't see him doing it. I
Yeah.
just can't. Rachel Campos Duffy.
Interesting.
This next name made me laugh out loud.
Oh no.
Spencer Pratt.
Imagine. Nothing is off the table though for this admin. Like literally, what would surprise me if it was like a normie person that's well respected. That would surprise me.
Well,
Um,
I would say that this next person would have been respected
yeah.
until he just went completely bonkers.
Oh no.
Scott Jennings.
So Scott, I'm gonna be careful because of Chatham House rules. Scott was my professor. Um,
Ah,
at the Harvard Kennedy School, and the class he taught, I forgot what it was called, but it was, campaigns in the White House stuff. And Scott, despite what he says on CNN or whatever, he is a practitioner and like incredibly good
mhm.
at the work that he's done. I would say the Scott Jennings from a few years ago is very different than the one you hear on TV. Years ago, he wouldn't have taken that job
Yeah.
at all.
This is why I say he went bonkers. Not, I mean, just because everything that I've heard about Scott Jennings prior to
Yeah.
everything is one of the most respected individuals.
I
And
mean, Mitch McConnell's talking to him for 20 minutes, right? And nobody
yeah,
else.
right,
So,
right. And the final name on the
yeah.
list, Carrie Lake.
Voice of America. Maybe she will actually become voice of America. Let's just give Marco Rubio his 10th job of the administration. That's
Right?
fine. Yeah, it's fine. No, you know what? I'm gonna make a meme of you know how they always make the memes of Marco Rubio
Oh
like
yeah,
next
and
job or whatever
sitting in
with
the couch.
yeah. So I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
press
yeah,
secretary.
yeah.
That's you know, go look on my Twitter and
That
follow me
and
and Josh and principals first. Wait,
so
wait,
those are the potential names.
what do you
Uh,
think of all this?
I'm surprised. I mean, honestly, I'm surprised she lasted as long as she did,
Yeah.
but she really, really stood her ground. I think one of the
Mhm.
reasons that she was very terse,
Yeah.
I think is the way that I would put it, is because she is so young
She is
and
very, yeah,
she
yeah,
had to establish herself,
sure, sure.
especially with the
And a
DC press
woman,
corps.
right?
Yeah,
Like a young woman. Yeah,
very
yeah,
young woman. And what I thought was interesting, I keep on saying that, but when I was reading the article about her, I did not realize the roles that she had played leading up to.
right.
She started out as an intern
Yeah,
during the first term. I'm like, holy cow, you started out as an intern in the first term, and then you
yeah.
ended up
It's the press
starting the
secretary.
second term as the press
Yeah,
secretary.
yeah.
That is nuts
I mean,
for
look, that's a
anybody.
really cool story for
No, it's a
sure. Like
great story
and I think she's youngest press secretary
ever.
ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, like I said, I give her that credit. I do think she's impressive in like how quickly she
Hmm.
communicates and all that. And I agree with you. I think my dad would say, Brittany, you're still hot headed, but you know, I'm told that as you get older, you become less hot headed. His stories of him being hot headed and not today.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you're right. I'm sure you're right that some of that comes with age as well. But
Probably.
yeah, man,
Probably. And as far as the names replacing her,
yeah,
I don't even know what to make of that list. It's it's more a who's who of like, really? That's what you got?
it's like who's
But
willing to lambast themselves
oh,
of their own accord.
oh, I think that there are a number of people on that list who would be willing to do that.
Yeah,
And so if they're all crawling over each other to get that position, which they may be, those who are willing to do that to themselves, almost debase themselves
yeah,
to the point of becoming, what they think is their next stepping stone.
yeah.
Because that's
What's
what I
gonna
mean,
get
all
them? Yeah, no, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, no, no. That's it's like, to me, as soon as I saw that Caroline Leavitt was leaving, my first thought was like, how soon is she going to be a talking head?
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say.
And
Yeah.
because that's what they all do.
They're looking for their Fox News contributorship. Maybe
Yeah.
even a show at some point, right? Kaylee
Oh,
got
she'll
one.
have a show for sure.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Imagine. They would, because I mean, look, she's MAGA's sweetheart. She really is. I would put
No,
her
she
and
is.
Marco Rubio in that category. I think a lot of folks within MAGA really like the fact that it's a young woman who is outspoken, who has so outwardly supported the president. Obviously, that's her job. But
Hmm.
I think they're incredibly impressed by her, and so I'm sure I'm sure it's a matter of time. I mean, I think by this time next year, I'm sure way sooner, but by this time next year, she'll be on the air somewhere.
Oh, for
And
sure.
the only reason it might take time is given if it truly is a thing about the kids and spending more time with your family. I'm not saying it's not, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there were other factors in there as well. I see her very soon being up on the air somewhere or having a podcast or having whatever
Yeah,
her own
for
thing for
sure.
sure. Yeah.
For sure. Well, if one person is leaving their job because of kids,
Yeah.
we have a member of Congress who is postponing having children,
Yeah.
but taking the steps to ensure that she still can. And AOC has done the bold move. I mean, I'm calling it bold because, I mean, she
Yeah.
did a live broadcast
Right.
of of she's freezing her eggs. The Guardian has a their take, is that it's a bold move from a likely presidential contender. The decision to go public with her egg freezing distinguishes Ocasio-Cortez as the rare Democrat willing to articulate an alternative vision of gender politics in an era when the Trump administration and its allies have rapidly eroded women's civil rights protections, reproductive rights, and workforce access. As you said, I think at the top of the show, though, what she's doing is she's doing this so that she can provide a better future for her family,
Mm-hmm.
for her eventual family. And she's getting slack for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought it was a bold move to stream this thing, but her reasons make sense.
Totally.
Personally, I don't understand why she's getting the flack that she is, but I'm not, again, surprised by it, especially who it's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it was a Republican who was MAGA and was doing this, I think everyone would be super supportive of it. You say it's bold, and I'm not saying it's not bold, but I feel like as a woman who's of, I'm younger than AOC, but approaching that age. And I'm unmarried, have no kids, no prospects either, Josh. I feel like those are conversations that my friends and I are having. And sure. I'm glad that she's brought this to the forefront, because for myself, I don't think this is controversial at all. I think that it's pretty normal conversation, but I forget that for so many people, it's not. And you would think for an administration, particularly who, Erica Kirk, also not part of the administration, of course, but like in the circle of trust of the friends, says things like have more babies than you can afford. Mm-hmm. And are encouraging women to have kids, and the trad wife culture and family and the importance of family. You think that they would applaud someone who is trying to prepare for a future family. And it's an insurance policy just in case she gets to an age where having kids naturally is not a possibility anymore. Yeah. And why, it's because she's AOC. That's why. I was going to say, I don't know why. Mm-hmm. No, that's the only reason really why. And then I see all these trolls online. She's 37 or about to be 37.
36, yeah.
30, and they're like, oh, well, 36-year-old freezing their eggs now. Like, what's, why even bother? And it's just like, first of all, this is a stat that I've been using recently, and I love it. More women are having kids in their 40s today than teenagers are. And that is for the first time in generations. Isn't that huge? Like, we don't want kids to be having kids. We want people who are established enough, who can afford it, to be having kids. So anyway, I applaud her for that move. And I was watching Alicia Menendez. She's an MS Now host, and she did a little like Instagram story or reel on this, and she was like, this is to your point, I mean, just that it's incredible to see a potential presidential contender doing this, and it's like historic, and it really made me think like, wow, it is. And I hope we get to the point where it's not historic, because this is just the way society functions, and it's not a big deal, because it's not. And so let's everyone else talk about it, and then it won't be a big deal anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree. I applaud AOC for how she's approaching this, and I hope that it does help destigmatize all of this.
Yeah.
Some of the trolls are out there saying like, even if she had kids right now, it would be considered a geriatric pregnancy.
There you go. That's what I keep saying. Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
You can't tell women to have babies and then get mad when someone is trying to prepare to have babies.
Right.
So hypocritical. I'm not surprised, because that's just what being a woman is like. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So here's one time when we will side with AOC.
The one and only time. And I will say though, as someone who is close in age to her, and I was working on the Hill when she first got into Congress, and I remember her like sitting in doing a sit-in in Nancy Pelosi's office or like a protest or whatever. I'm thinking what a moronic thing to do, you freshman. And to your point, I guess she's like at least tried to moderate more or at least make it appear that she is, whether she is or not, is this maybe a different story. But I do appreciate that she goes on Fox News, and I do appreciate that she is known to have like some pretty strong friendships with Republicans. And I think that we forget that we're allowed to be friends with people on the opposite side of the aisle, and it shouldn't be weird. And we can disagree vehemently and still be friendly and neighbors and like good humans. So anyway.
Yeah, it makes me think of Katie Hobbs choosing a Republican.
There you go.
As a running mate.
Full circle.
Full circle. We're bringing it together. That's what we do here on the pod.
Yeah.
Okay, final conversation piece before we call it a show. I know we don't want to be casting ourselves as never Trumpers, but there are only so many things that you can kind of let slide. And this is one of them. I know that one of our fellow coworkers is constantly barraging us with articles and other assorted information about how much Trump is pocketing as president. A new Senate report, and I want to make sure that I get this right because this was on Semaphore, and this was again, oh no, it wasn't Semaphore, it was Mediaite. It says new calculations from a Joint Economic Committee minority, so we'll just make sure that everyone knows it's coming from the minority side, shows a staggering gap between how President Trump has fared financially in 2025 and how ordinary American families fared. Trump reported at least $2.2 billion in income last year, more than triple what he earned in 2024, while the average American family lost roughly $1,625 to inflation over the same period. Multiplied across the country, that works out to $219 billion in losses for American families in a single year. That's insane. And I know that he's getting he claims he's doing everything by the book, or that he doesn't know what his investments are, that people are just investing on his behalf. But it has been common practice for as long as we can remember that presidents will put that stuff aside while being president.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have a president who is tweeting or truthing basically what amounts to market inflation tweets to the point where it's on stuff that he has recently invested in that he's all of a sudden making social media posts about, and all of a sudden these things rise even further in value. He's inflating his own income through social media. And not only that, his family is benefiting from DoD contracts. And where they say a large share of Trump's windfall traces back to the Trump meme coin. The heck? What is a meme coin? Is that crypto?
Is it it's like NPCs, or is that something else?
I think it's
NFT.
NFT.
NPC. What is that?
That's a non-player. I don't know.
I think that's like something that Gen Zs say.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
It's a video game thing. My son could tell me what it is.
Yeah, there you go.
But anyway, the meme coin apparently netted him around $636 million, even as 1 million individual investors lost billions of dollars combined betting on the coin.
Oh my gosh.
In other words, one side of that trade made Trump hundreds of millions of dollars, while the other side, made up of everyday people, absorbed the losses.
Yeah. Make ethics great again. It's so exhausting to talk about. And on one hand, obviously you keep the fight and you call it out. And on the other hand, it's just like, I can't wait for this to be over. And I don't even, it's like, what's the point of calling it out when Congress or, the Supreme Court or when no one does anything to hold him to account. So then it's incumbent upon people like us who just have microphones, opinions, Twitters, social media pages, and it just feels like it falls on deaf ears. And I just hope once this term is over, we never have an administration. And this is the thing, it creates a precedent for future presidents. And I just hope that in the future, We have a Congress who doesn't relinquish their authority. We have Supreme Courts that are willing to
Uphold the law.
Yeah, that's what I know. Uphold the law, and the Supreme Court has supported Trump decisions and not supported Trump decisions, right? But it's just this is so outrageous. And our colleague says it's the corruption, stupid.
Yep. Which occasionally is a hashtag I'll use.
Yeah, and it's just the corruption is everywhere, and it's just so disgusting to watch, especially it's people who are supposed to be the greatest public servants serving the American people who are struggling and aren't getting any of the benefits that these other folks are within the administration, and are being told, it's all inside your head. There is no affordability crisis. Meanwhile, they're getting rich off taxpayers. Like, there's just so much wrong with all of this.
There is. And I mean, yeah, you have Senate Democrats hammering the president on it, but I mean, they're just doing their job in this regard. So it's gross. It's gross negligence on so many people's parts to allow this to continue to happen. It continues to sow mistrust in how our government is supposed to operate.
This is why Americans hate politics.
It is. You're right. You're 100% right. Well, hey,
on that positive note.
Exactly. On that positive note, I want to talk about a couple of things that we as Principles First are doing that I want to bring to everyone's attention. We have a few events coming up, virtual events that are, and honestly, I hope that they help elevate not just discourse, but your mood even. And next Wednesday, we are having a virtual event with Neil Ghosh, who is an author of Do More Good and is the founder of Our Ripple Effect. I'll be moderating this conversation. Ghosh will share real examples of individuals and organizations who turned everyday moments into meaningful impact and how we could do the same wherever you're starting from. This is next Wednesday, August 19th. The time is at 1 p.m. RSVP today. You will get your Zoom link and you can be a part of this. Send your questions to us ahead of time if you'd like to info@principlesfirst.us or just tweet them to us if you happen to have any questions beforehand. And then this is exciting. We just kind of finalized everything today. We are going to be holding or doing a virtual event combined with the Trusted Neighbor Project. We are going to learn about an initiative that is built on a simple idea. Democracy is defended block by neighbors who show up for one another. Join us to learn on Wednesday, August 26th, what Trusted Neighbor is, how it works, and how to get involved in your own community. We will have a featured speaker in Stephen Richer, who is the CEO of Republic Affairs. He is also a legal scholar at the Cato Institute and a senior practice fellow at Harvard's Ash Center. He previously served, and this is where Arizona comes back into play, he previously served as an elected Maricopa County recorder from 2021 to 2025, where he became nationally known for defending Arizona's elections results against fraud claims. So that is Wednesday, August 26th. Go to principlesfirst.us to find out more about all of this. It is under the events link. Sign up today. All of these things are free. And then even just as fun, if not more fun, Brittany will be in Iowa. Go visit Brittany in Iowa on Saturday, August 20th. Tell us a little bit more about what's going to be happening in Iowa.
Yeah, we're going to the Iowa State Fair. It's Saturday, August 22nd. And we'll be there from 11 to about 1:30 p.m. at the Alliant Energy Landing. We're going to be joined by Congressman Zach Nunn, Michael Bridgeford, who is a candidate locally, and then also Joe Walsh. And we're very excited about that. And this is meant to be an opportunity just for Iowans, anyone visiting the fair, to hear about some of the things that are important to Iowa. And remember, we're a C3, C4, so this is no a sort of endorsement, but it is an opportunity for local folks on the ground to be able to hear from their electeds or those who are traveling to Iowa or those who are also interested in being public servants. And I think that's important. And we did invite basically everyone in Iowa who is an elected office holder, just so you know, because that's the way that you have to operate within the realm of C3, C4 world, but I think particularly C3 world. And we're very excited. We're going to have brisket. We're going to have ice cream and it's going to be hot. So we'll have some fans. Come get a fan. We're going to have these really cool t-shirts. It's going to be a great time. This was one of my favorite events last year, and it's going to be at the Alliant Energy Pavilion, which is right by where the butter cow statue is. That building is right next to it. It's like a little, if you go to the park and they have kind of like the outdoor pavilions, that's what it's like. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but we do have a really fun podcast coming up next week.
Yeah.
I don't want to give it away. It's a surprise for now.
Yeah. Hopefully our first guest, I think we can say that, hopefully.
Yes.
And it's someone who's been coming around Principles First since the very beginning. And we appreciate this person being willing to be our first podcast host, or excuse me, guest.
Guest. Yes.
Yeah.
So much fun. So much fun happening in the Principles First universe. Come join us. Join us at principlesfirst.us. Click on the Get Involved page. Get involved. Find out if Principles First is in your state. And if it's not, let's do something about that. Follow us on our socials. On Twitter, principles_1ST, principles_first. And that is basically the same as well as on TikTok and Instagram. We also are on Substack at Principles First. Principle. I'm going to get it wrong here. What is our URL? Dang it. I should know this by now.
Just look up Principles First. You'll see us. It's a lighthouse.
Yes, it is. It's principles1st, again, first.substack.com. We already have one post up. We'll be having another one up here before too long.
Yeah. I'm working on it. I haven't finished. I haven't started.
We're looking forward to it.
Got distracted, but
that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
We've been busy. We've been busy here. We're a small but mighty team. But I think it will resonate to some of the topics that we were talking about today.
I agree. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Brittany, I think we've reached the conclusion, if you will, of episode number 4. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and hopefully that you will tune in again next time, especially since we will have a special guest. As always, I'm Josh Gillespie.
I'm Brittany Martinez.
And we'll see you guys again next week. Bye.